college, if you can get right, it's really big because a lot of college corners just aren't, I don't think, are amazing because teams pass for a lot of yardage. But when you get a kid that can cover and do some of these different things, it's really exciting to watch. And I think Hakeem Satterwhite, when I watch his film, is definitely has all the potential to be a really good player for the Terps. And so he went to St. John's before, which we all know is right in the D.C. area. And then so this year he's going to St. Francis, which multiple Maryland commits are on the St. Francis team. But when I watch his film, one thing stands out. He's going to make plays. He's going to make plays. He's not just a corner that just covers. I watched a play of him come off the edge on a corner blitz, came off the edge for St. John's, came with the speed and athleticism that you just don't see. And then kid's a ball hawk. Like this kid's trying to jump stuff. Like he's trying to get in front of stuff. He's not just going to let you kind of check it down in front of him and be like, oh, it is what it is. Like 5 yards, you can have it. Like he's going to go and try and make some plays. And I appreciate stuff like that. But St. John's often blitz him off the corner, which won't happen a ton in college, but you like to see that. He likes to get physical in the run game. That's an underrated part of the corner's game is guys that can get physical in the run game, guys that can really make an impact in the run game. That's something that not a lot of people are going to talk about, but it's something that is really important. Guys that, especially in the Big Ten, when we play like in Michigan and they try to run outside on you, or Ohio State has some 5-star back trying to get to the outside. Can your corner make a play? That's a big question. Can your corner kind of rock it up and be able to make it into more of a pile and to be able to push guys back a little bit? I think Hakeem Satterwhite can do that. But when you watch the film, he definitely likes to jump stuff. He definitely likes to get into the run game, which I think is awesome. And I think the thing that excites me most about him as a player, he's 6'2". He's 6'2". A 6'2" corners aren't made every day. There's not a billion of those guys when you look at it. Like I'm sure if you look at the cornerback rankings right now for the 2026 class, I'm going to pull them up actually. I bet that most of these guys are around 6 feet. And let's see if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys are going to be like 6 feet ish. So let's look at when we look at position. Let's kind of peek because we know that 6'2" guys aren't just made, and I love that his size is that big and that he has that type of athleticism in terms of his range, in terms of his length. That's stuff that you just don't get every single day. And so I automatically in my mind think of Patrick Surtain. A lot of you guys are going to know him in the NFL. That's who I think of, the defensive player of the year. He's definitely a guy, when I hear 6'2", that's what I kind of think of. So there's not a ton of guys that are going to be that size. There's definitely more than I thought maybe these days, but a lot of these guys are going to be near 6 feet. They're going to be near 5'11". They're going to be good players. They're going to be twitchy. They're going to be athletic, but with Hakeem, you get all of that, and you also get a guy with the range and athleticism at 6'2" that you just don't see every single day. So I do think that that's pretty awesome, and it's pretty exciting to see a kid with that type of tools and that type of height, because I think when you get a little bit taller than that, you're just getting to a point where it's tough to cover at 6'5" or 6'4", but 6'2", you get that kind of that balance of being able to long corner, tall, but also being able to still have the twitchiness of a lot of different other guys. So, and I liked how he played a lot of press man at St. John's, a lot of press man. He was not afraid to be up on the line of scrimmage. He wasn't afraid to get into the play a lot. So I do think he helped. And then we also, a 4-star talent's a 4-star talent as well. Who knows what the kid ends up being? Who knows how good he actually ends up being? But whenever you get a guy that's around a 4-star type of guy, you, as a Maryland fan, you feel pretty good about that. And this class has gotten a little bit stale. I'll say it. I'll be the first one to tell you guys. This class has gotten a bit stale. Like, you like the Maryland class at the top, like you like Zion Ely, but outside of that, I don't think there's anyone right now that anyone's writing home about. And I think Hakeem Satterwhite gives us kind of that next oomph of a player. So we are recruiting St. Francis really well right now. We have Kamari Bing outside, another corner who went to St. Francis. So you ever turn on the St. Francis football, you have Kamari Bing and you have Hakeem Satterwhite at cornerback. That's pretty crazy. And then we also have Damon Hall, tight end from St. Francis, and then, of course, Zion Ely. So we're marking up St. Francis pretty good. And there's other guys that you kind of hope to get in the conversation for at St. Francis, but you just don't know. But I do think this class is a little bit in terms of the Graham scheme of things, it's just a little bit top heavy right now. And there's not a ton of guys in the class right now. And it's ranked 60th. Like, it's showing that. And so I do think Loxley needs to fill it out with more guys. I think there's more players that we need. But Hakeem Satterwhite gives us that next kind of tier where he's not a 5-star, but he's that 4-star guy you get excited about, a guy that you think can be good. But remember, this 2025 class was ranked 25th on the composite rankings, like a pretty high class. And there was such a middle ground in that class. Like, you have 4-star Bryce Jenkins, 4-star Zamir, 4-star Messiah Delhomme, 4-star Jalen Gilchrist. Like, there was such a middle part of that class where you felt really good about 4-stars Zahir Mathis, where this one there's not as much. But there are good corners in that class as well. Like, I think Jaden Ships is a guy that we're all excited about. That can be a good player for us. I think Jaden Ships can be a good player. And I think Messiah Delhomme at safety is going to be good. There's good players in the secondary in that class as well. So we'll see exactly what happens. We've been recruiting. I feel like we recruit receivers well. We recruit running backs decently well, and we recruit corners pretty well. And so if anything, if we have any evidence, we're pretty sure that Hakeem Satterwhite is going to be a pretty good player for the Terps. I want to get into who else can Maryland land in this class. Who do we need to get? Some of the big dogs are off the board. Who else is on there that we can still get that can be a really good player for Maryland football? I'll talk about that next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get the same games with your friends, and you're getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track all of my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like a must-watch event. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it easy to feel like I'm in on the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can just bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Maryland's 2026 class is just a concern for me. And I want to talk about some of the guys that, according to 247, are guys that we're in, that we're hot on, guys that we can still potentially land in this 2026 class. Because it does feel like, to me, drying up. It's just drying up. There's not a ton of guys that we are going to be able to get. Hakeem Satterwhite was a big one for sure. That was one we much needed. But when you go down the list of guys that I think we expected to get, like Emmanuel Iheanacho, we're not completely out of those sweepstakes. It looks like, to me, it's going to be Oregon for him, which is completely fair. I thought we were in it. I was hoping we were in it. It looks like it's between Oregon, LSU, Penn State, Auburn for him. He's making the decision August 5th. I think it'll be Oregon for him. He seems to really like Dan Lanning and what they do, and Oregon's been really good at offensive lines. And then we were also hoping we'd have a chance at 5-star Jaira Edwards, the safety out of St. Francis, who's now crystal ball to go to Georgia. So we were hoping we were going to be able to get some of these guys, but now that we're keeping on going and keep looking down some of the lists, it's just getting thinner and thinner for the Terps in terms of guys that realistically we can get that we're really going to want. I think one guy that is really big that I think we really need to be in on is this kid, Brandon Anderson. You guys might not have heard this kid's name. I was looking. We're warm for him right now, along with Georgia, Missouri, North Carolina, and Tennessee. He's ranked 354th ranked nationally, the 29th interior offensive lineman. So definitely a solid about top 350 guy on the composite rankings that has him as a 4-star. Definitely the type of player that we want in this class to even out some of the stuff on the offensive line. We'll be looking out for him. The interesting part about him is he's from Kennesaw, Georgia, if I'm saying that right, Kennesaw, Georgia. So you wonder if some of the other schools are more likely for him to pick, but definitely a guy we're going to be looking out for. And then somebody in the DMV I think we have a pretty good chance at is this kid, Javonte Williams. An interesting player. They have him listed as an athlete, 6'4", 220, but apparently he's projected to be more of a tight end, which to me makes a lot of sense for a kid like that. But he goes to Potomac School or he goes to the Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland. So he is a guy that, of course, is a DMV kid. Definitely a guy I'm going to be looking at. It looks like Pitt and NC State are also in that conversation, but definitely another guy that we're going to be looking at that we probably need to add. But that's not like anything insane in terms of a prospect, in terms of it being a 4-star. Another kid we're going to be looking at in terms of receiver is Deshaun Spencer, an interesting player from Alabama that we're apparently in on. He's borderline a 4-star. Looks like Duke and us are in the conversation for him at receiver. Definitely a guy that I think we possibly could need. We don't have any receivers right now. And then you keep scrolling down the list. We're warm on a guy like Damari Carter, another athlete. We'll see what he's kind of projected to play. He's from Virginia. He's ranked as the 83rd ranked athlete. He looks like he's looking at Virginia as well. So he's another guy. So some of these guys are definitely going to start get going, hopefully towards our direction. But there's not a ton of 4-star talent left that I can honestly be like, yeah, Maryland is probably going to get, to be completely honest. An interesting kid is CJ Sadler. He's a guy that we got to keep an eye on. We're warm for him. It looks like North Carolina, Colorado, and Miami are on it, but he's also from any guy that's not from the DMV and it says where we're warm from, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. He's from Detroit, Michigan, so I'm not exactly sure. He is a 4-star prospect, so it is a guy that maybe we could potentially be a guy that actually ends up being a Terp, but I'm just not sure. Like I said, he is a 4-star, but I just don't know if Maryland's where he's trying to go. But he is a high-level guy, so we'll see what happens with him and his recruitment. We don't really know about the numbers. It looks like Michigan could be it for him. It looks like that's kind of what he's leaning towards. Some other guys that are interesting on the list is this kid Thomas Wilder. He's a guy that I think we really could use. Offensive tackle from Virginia, ranked as a top 350 player, ranked as a 4-star, likes Penn State, likes UNC, likes Virginia Tech. At 6'6", 285, we can put weight on him. Definitely a guy that I think we should be looking at. So that's another kid. So there is talent on the board. It's just it needs to start falling. It definitely needs to start falling for the Terps because I feel like it's just like other teams are getting some of these players that we're really into, and it's just like stuff's just not really happening right now. But On3 has been predicted to go to North Carolina at 32% prediction, Virginia Tech's at 28, and then Maryland's at 18.1. So we're definitely in it, but definitely a guy that we want to definitely push a lot for. Another kid on the defensive line is Cameron Brinkle, who goes to IMG, 3-star, another guy that potentially could end up being a Terp, potentially a guy that we do want. Cameron Brinkle, IMG Academy, so is in Florida, but definitely like that type of prospect. Has a lot of big-time offers, so might be a little bit better than a 3-star. Realistically, Penn State, Florida State, Ohio State, Bama, so we'll see with a guy like that. But looking through it, there's more guys on there than you think. Some that I think we'll probably end up adding is Tyson Harley. He goes to Gonzaga, linebacker, Gonzaga in DC. He's ranked as the number 2 player in the state. We're warm on him. He's a 4-star in the composite, so definitely a guy that we could get as well. So he's another guy. So maybe there's more options. Maybe I'm freaking out a little too quick because when I look at some of these guys that are considering us, I do think there's players that we could end up honestly potentially getting. Devontae Anderson's a corner potentially at 6'1" that we could look at, but I don't know how much we need another corner. So I do think there is guys to look at. There's Marcus Almeida, who I also know personally, who's a 3-star defensive lineman. He's a guy that we potentially could end up getting. So my point is this. There's still a lot of talent on the board. It's just about Maryland getting some of these guys and putting it together, because I complain, I'm like, it's only Zion Ely. It is still early. There's still a lot to go. I don't know why I'm trying to like make this process a little bit quicker, but it did feel like last year. I would want to compare. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know where we stood at this time last year. I just don't remember. Like, I don't think we had like Malik Washington yet. Like, I'm not sure when we had when we were getting some of these guys. I remember it kind of started hitting at once, and it's like, oh, bang, bang, we got him. Whereas now it's like, feels like a slow burn. Like, we got Zion Ely. Oh, meanwhile, not sure. Oh, no. Jair Andrews. Oh, no. Oh, some other. No. And it's just been kind of getting to that cold spot where Hakeem Satterwhite hopefully can get this thing going. But over the next month or two, you're really going to start seeing this class formulating, and we're going to see if it ends up being the type of class that we want it to be or the type of class that we don't want it to be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we'll see what happens with the Terps team. Aaron Wiggins wins an NBA championship. Let's talk about it next. So Aaron Wiggins did something really cool yesterday, won an NBA championship, which I thought was honestly awesome. So Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, you guys all probably know, if you guys pay attention to the NBA really at all, or just pay attention to sports relatively, and you're watching this, you probably do know. The OKC Thunder beat the Pacers 103-91. First of all, I feel horrible for Tyrese Halliburton. It did remind me a lot of the KD injury. People were comparing it to Tatum from this year, but to me, it wasn't like the Tatum injury, because the Tatum injury was just like kind of random. I don't think we knew Tatum was playing through anything in terms of like something like serious that would have kept him out a couple weeks in the regular season. But the Kevin Durant, I remember when Kevin Durant had the option to come back or not, and came back and tore his Achilles, because that's what happens when you have some of these calf issues before. I don't know exactly how it medically works. I'm not like an expert on that, but I do know sometimes that's what ends up happening. And that's what happened with Tyrese Halliburton. I felt really bad, but I do want to talk about the Thunder, and particularly Aaron Wiggins getting it done. I thought it was honestly awesome to see Aaron Wiggins win an NBA championship. I remember when he was on Maryland, just solid overall player, obviously. I always thought he was one of our better shooters that we've had, and he's shown that in his time at OKC. I just remember when he would shoot from Maryland, every shot I would think he was making. He was an elite shooter, and then when you're 6'7" and an elite shooter and you're athletic, like, you're going to go to the NBA. And so we definitely saw Aaron Wiggins play some really good basketball for us. If you guys remember, he averaged 20 points in our tournament when we played UConn, we played Alabama. He gave us 20 points a game. And then on the season, in our 2020-2021 season, he was definitely a big-time player, had some big-time performances, shot the three ball at a really high level, and now he's an NBA champion. What he did this year for OKC was honestly pretty awesome. Like, being a second-round pick, going 55th in the second round, you don't really expect too much, but he was a huge part of that NBA, or that OKC team. Played real minutes. In his last 10, he averaged 15.8 points, which is honestly pretty big time. And those are all playoff games. Shot 32% from three. Like, kid, and that's not even amazing, but he was just doing a lot of really good stuff. And then this year in the regular season, he averaged 12 points a game, averaged 23 minutes per game. Like, that's pretty big time. 38% from three, 83 from the free throw line, nearly 4 rebounds. Like, he was playing a lot of minutes and doing a lot of different things. And of course, he was a big reason OKC beat the Pacers in Game 5 when he dropped 14 points. He was a huge reason they won that game. He was a huge part of that game, which was a huge indicator on how the series went. And then also Game 2, where he had 18 points, 5 of 8 from three-point line. So he had 2 really good elite games in that series. And then also the Denver series, where they won in 7, which arguably was OKC's hardest series. Maybe you'll say, I think that Denver's a little bit better, honestly, than the Pacers. I think that was their hardest series. And he did some really good things in that series as well. 11 points in Game 4 He had 10 points in game 2 in a win. So when he played well, they usually won games. And then against the Grizzlies, when they blew out the Grizzlies, he had 21 points. So he had some big-time performances. You can't forget against the Jazz Friday, 4/11, he had 35 points. So huge for him to win an NBA championship. Anytime you represent Maryland well like that, it's awesome. So good for Aaron Wiggins for doing that for sure. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.